ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dan Morgan.
How you guys doing?
Dan, how are you, brother?
Doing great.
Okay.
Doing great. How you guys doing?
Okay, man, we're good. We're post-draft right now, so we're trying to find things to talk about to cover 3 hours. So whenever people like you join us, we're incredibly lucky and thankful, aren't we? Hey, thank you. Thank you. And we would have to be talking about if Aaron Rodgers is going to play quarterback for the Steelers or not for the next 3 weeks. So we appreciate you taking time here. Did you hear what we were just chatting about there at the end when talking about culture and dogs in loving ball?
Yeah.
I say that because your first pick this year, the Irish Oos, who we are a big fan of, we think he's a game changer. There was a narrative, and it might have been during smokescreen time in the draft cycle, where people are like, we don't know if he loves ball. Now, they said he loves volleyball. We don't know if he loves football. I assume that was something that you had to talk about or address with him. And what did you see or learn about the man that is obviously a great football player that said, yeah, I want him to be a Panther?
Yeah, I think part of that's probably people's way of trying to get him a little lower on the draft boards because I think a lot of people liked him. You know, for us, we were really thorough in the process. You know, we brought him in here for a 30 visit. We met with him at the combine. We loved everything about him, not only as a player, but as a person. He's super competitive. He's super smart. He's tough. And, you know, he does all the things that you're looking for in a number one wide receiver. So we're extremely, excited about him.
I love that he's the 6th Hawaiian-born player to be drafted in the first round. Congratulations, T-Mac. I also love the fact that he's the first player ever to give a lay to Commissioner Goodell. Shout out Oos there. And then let's talk about what happened back in Carolina. I heard that Coach Canales actually gave a lay to T-Mac whenever he got to Carolina. And how much are we embracing the Hawaiian culture? Because it is a beautiful one over there, Dan.
Yeah, we're definitely embracing it. Obviously it's a beautiful place over there, but we love the receivers that they put out over there. So we're excited about him. We're big Hawaiian fans now. So he's going to bring that juice that we're looking for on the outside and that size. So yeah, we're big fans.
Okay, so let's talk about Bryce Young, who's going to be throwing him the ball. We saw it all unfold last year. Canales' first year as the head coach. Obviously, we saw what he did down in Tampa Bay. He was going to be the guy that was going to revive a career, save a career. Then he got a bench moment. Then he comes back on the other side of it. And it feels like your entire team kind of ignited on the other side of the benching. Got even better. Second half of the season looked like a team that is going to be one that is going to be a problem in the NFC South, and especially a team that I think Charlotte is going to be able to rally around yet again. Was that all led by Bryce Young? What did you see in the second half from Bryce and from your team?
Yeah, I think obviously, like any team, it starts with the quarterback, right? So, Bryce, coming back after being benched after the second game, the resilience that he showed, and that's just who Bryce is. Bryce is, he's a resilient player. He's a tough player. He's a smart player, a guy that can extend plays with his legs and make a lot of things happen. So I think obviously when the quarterback's playing really good and at a high level like he was towards the end of the season, I think the team, feeds off of that. And, I think you saw at the end of the year, that our team, started playing a lot better. And, that energizes everybody, and it energizes us in the office too. So, yeah, we're excited about his future and the team's future.
Go ahead, AJ.
Yeah, Dan, you said Bryce is obviously tough and resilient. I feel like everybody wants tough and resilient players that can kind of handle adversity. Do you guys do anything different, or what have you learned when you're evaluating these players, if they truly are like the type of players you want to bring into Carolina?
Yeah, I think a lot of times, like, going back to what you just said, AJ, like, when the players that we look for are players that have been through adversity before. So, some of these guys, they really haven't had to overcome adversity in their life, before coming to the NFL. So we like guys that have been through adversity at the college level or in their life, whether in high school or childhood. So I think that builds a lot of character, builds a lot of toughness and resilience. So we look for those type of guys.
That's maturity. I think you mature through situations because whenever a situation happens, you change. And you can either wither or get tougher and learn from it. And I like the fact that that is a trait that you seek out. I also like the fact that it looks like you can find out if they're physically tough as well. Connor has a question for you.
Yeah, Dan, clearly you're still a big son of a bitch. You can probably bring it in the A or B gap. As a Patriots fan, one of my favorite tidbits from this draft season was Mike Vrabel put the pad on, kind of felt some of these dudes, Will Campbell in particular, to see what they were like. Did you, maybe throw the pads on, maybe even grab a pad, hit up Trevor Etienne, while he was doing some drills? Was there anything physical like that just because you have played before and you know what it's like to be out there on Sundays?
Absolutely not. I'm not putting on the pads. I'm not putting not putting anything on my any pads on my shoulder or anything.
Especially no helmet on that hair. Hey, the hair is.
Wow. Great flow.
Yeah. You got to make sure it's right. Definitely got to make sure it's right.
You feel good? Yeah, you certainly feel good about it. Especially, hey, is that an everyday look there? Are we hat or that?
No hats. I don't wear hats.
Because you got that, yeah.
Fix the hair every day.
Jeez.
Must be nice.
Yeah, it must be nice to have that hair. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Check one thing off the don't have to worry about list. Let's talk about the draft a little bit more. Go ahead, Tone.
Yeah, Dan. D-Butt and I actually the other day were looking at, after the 2024 draft, a way too early 2025 draft, and Tetairoa McMillan and Nic Scourton, your second-round pick, were both in the top 10 there. So congrats on getting 2 top 10 picks in this draft.
Yeah, congrats.
Appreciate it.
But for Nick, he leads the Big Ten in sacks, then he goes down to Texas A&M and doesn't have the same production. So how do you scout a player like that who has a production drop-off in the year before the draft after he has an incredible year in 2023?
Yeah, I think you just really have to look at the body of work. And, the production maybe dipped a little bit, but, he's still super disruptive out there. He plays with a lot of energy and toughness, enthusiasm. You could just tell he's passionate about the game. So I don't really play too much into the dip in production. He was still productive in terms of tackles for loss and things like that. So he's a guy that we obviously, we felt really good about. We actually had a first round grade on him. We had him in the late first round. So we traded up to get him. We put a priority in getting edge in this draft, which we thought was a deep edge class. So, and he was just one of those guys that we really had a liking for.
Love
so
that.
We went and got him.
Love to hear that. Love that you're making moves too. And is that we've waited this long, let's go get him now type move on draft night?
Well, right before that, there was a couple edge guys that went. So, we were just kind of looking at our board and, we're like, hey, let's go get this guy. Like we think he can be a difference maker for us and a guy that can make a bunch of plays. So, let's go get him. So we traded up for him.
You just talked about a couple edge guys going ahead there. It was a big-time trenches draft, which I think is kind of aligning with the state of football. Ty has a question for you.
Yeah, Dan, even though you guys got a receiver, the run we had on O-line and D-line in the draft was crazy. That was obviously the deepest part of the draft, but you guys made a massive investment along the offensive line last year. Obviously, keeping Bryce upright is paramount and the most important thing. But when you see what happened with the Eagles this past year on their Super Bowl run, does that kind of just lend credence to what you guys did last year along the O-line, knowing kind of where the NFL is going and that cyclical nature that running the football and winning on the offensive and the defensive line is the most important part of the game as well?
Yeah, I think it just goes back to even, when I was playing. Like, I think we know that the game is won in the trenches. So, whether it's O-line or D-line, if you're not winning the line of scrimmage up front on both sides of the ball, your chances of winning, they go down mightily. So we wanted to build the defensive front this year like we built the offensive front last year, and we feel like we accomplished that this year. So we're excited. We're excited about the defensive front now.
I kind of wish you would get out there with him a little bit, though.
Oh, yeah. Come on.
Are you lifting every day?
I'm a Peloton guy, so I do the Peloton, and then I get off the Peloton, and I'll do just some light weights. No heavy lifting.
Peloton, is that because of knees, or is that because you enjoy cycling because you were down there in South Florida?
Well, I have the bike and I have the treadmill, so I just go back and forth every day. So I just have a routine that I do, and it works for me.
You're running still, full running?
The hammies are a little shaky here lately, so it's usually more hiking, more walking than it is running.
Running is a wild thing if you got any knee stuff. Like the ex-professional athlete, I would like to know the number of people that are running that are ex-professional athletes. Legit.
Not a ton.
Because you're like scared to almost too, I think, at some stages. Like if you stop running for like a year, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm not going to start doing this again. My knees are going to explode potentially. I got this treadmill.
Game changer.
Seems awesome.
I got the anti-gravity. I got this anti-gravity treadmill. So like
the soft tissue stuff, as you get older, it gets real. Whether it's the calf or the hamstring, you feel something grab, and then you're sitting on the couch for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and you don't want to deal with that afterwards. And the hair is always going to be good though, no matter what you're running, walking, hiking, biking, whatever the case.
Yeah, we put a little hairspray. It'll keep it upright, and I'll be good to go.
Go ahead.
Well, what's actual lightweight for you? You're saying that as if you're lifting, 10-pound dumbbells. What are we actually talking about?
I'll do like anywhere from like, if I'm doing like dumbbell bench, which I did this morning, I'm going to go like 50 pounds at the most.
Okay,
50 pound dumbbell.
That's a little pop there. Just kind of wake them up a little bit. How you doing? Yeah. We're running highlights right now in the studio of you from college. Hey!
Oh, yeah.
Heyday, Miami.
Okay, so speaking of heyday Miami, I mean, there was a lot of conversations about Miami back in the day, a lot of documentaries about everything that was happening, not only on the field, but also off the field. We're currently in an era now of NIL where, a lot of benefits could have potentially been had back then, but they certainly are being had now. We had Jason Light on earlier talking about how the NIL has affected the player in your scouting and talking to them. He mentioned about how sometimes on film, a guy won't be on the field for like a big play because they got to get a freshman some plays, because if they don't play the freshman, he'll transfer out and they're paying him a bunch of money. Is that real? And is there any other things about the modern athlete that you've noticed while scouting these guys, trying to find your culture guys?
No, I definitely think that's a real thing, because you'll be watching the tape and, somebody that's a really good player that you're watching, like they're not even starting the game. They're playing like a younger guy and trying to appease the younger guy so he doesn't transfer. So yeah, there's definitely validity to that for sure. What was the second part to your question?
Just, is there anything else from the NIL development of college ball that has changed like the modern athlete for you think, whenever you're talking to these guys?
I think maybe it's a little bit of an advantage to them that they're used to having money in their pocket, as opposed to the first time them having money is after they get their contract money. So I think it's actually an advantage for us at the pro level that they're already used to having money. If they didn't get in trouble with the money, then, you're really not worried about it, as, from my seat. So I feel fine about that, and I actually think it's an advantage in some ways.
That's two GMs now that have said the same thing about that. I think we made it. Maybe the NIL thing isn't all terrible in there. Maybe it's not all terrible. Go ahead, AJ. Last question for Dan.
Yeah, Dan. When you talk to some of these head coaches in the college ranks, I guess, how has that changed? How has their attitude, or how do they view players? You think from say 25 years ago to now, has that evolved in how they, I guess, have to coach these guys? It does seem like a little bit different than it might have been in the past.
Honestly, I feel bad for, some of these head coaches in college football right now. Just, it's just tough for them. It makes it tough. You're not allowed to really, you're allowed to, but if you discipline a kid or you're too hard on a kid, they can just transfer and they can leave now. So, I think it's very challenging for them. And, I'm happy that I'm on this side of, pro football.
Yeah.
It just makes it, I just couldn't imagine having to deal with that every day.
Yeah, but you're, I guess, reaping the benefits on the other side in the pro level. So congrats to you not having to do that.
Yeah.
That is,
appreciate that.
Yeah, that hair stayed dark, having to deal with that every day. We got some grays popping up.
Yeah.
Maybe getting there a little thin. Speaking of thin, Hunter Renfrow last year got down to 150 pounds, allegedly. It is being reported. Colitis, ulcerative colitis. Is this?
Yes, this is what I have. Yeah.
This is similar to what you have. Okay, so I have seen somebody that has had to go through this. Your insides basically are just, beating you up seemingly.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah, so he had these fevers. Obviously, I assume he wasn't able to hold food, wasn't able to eat. I assume everything else. So whenever he was with the Raiders here, obviously not a lot of conversation. You guys just signed him him. You bring in T-Mac, obviously. Why the Hunter Renfrow signing? And when you learned about his actual story, what is your first messaging or thoughts from him about what this season could be for him? And how do they figure that out? Is there like medicine or something that's going to kind of prevent this from ever happening again?
Yeah, it's kind of an amazing story, because I was curious too, like why he just didn't play football last year. And then, his agent gave me a call and he said, "Hey, Hunter's interested in coming back, and I think he'd like to play for you guys." And I was like, "Absolutely, let's bring him in for a visit. Let's talk to him, and let's see what we can do." So coming in and hearing his story, about how he was sick and all the stuff that he went through. It's an amazing story. And, for me to have him in front of me and him wanting to come here and knowing the type of player that he was out in Vegas, like, why would I not want to give this guy a shot? If he can get back to, the form that he played out in Las Vegas, like, if he can come here and play like that, then yeah, let's go.
Also coming back home potentially over there. I mean, I'm very excited to watch him in your offense, especially with Canales' big-ass offensive brain. We haven't asked about the defense enough. D-Bud has a question for you, Dan.
Yeah, first of all, Dan, I got to thank you for passing the torch, carrying the torch as a Broward County legend. Obviously going on to Miami, doing great things, becoming
Broward, yep.
There, but defensive side of the ball, you made a decision to make Jaycee Horn at the time the highest paid corner in the league. What went into that decision, and what do you love about Jaycee Horn being the cornerstone of that defense?
Yeah, I think obviously I think he's a cornerstone of our team. A guy that I wanted to lock up. That was one of the things when I got this job that I wanted to do is keep our core players around here, reward guys that not only play the game the right way, but do the right things off the field as well. So JC was one of those guys that I did not want to lose him at any point. He just brings too much attitude to the defense, and he's a great leader, great person, and he's everything that you want, from a player in general.
You rewarding your own guys is such a message to everybody. Mm-hmm. Like, not just the guys in your locker room, but also free agents. Like, hey, this guy takes care of his people. I hope it works over there. And I also hope that we get a chance someday to chit-chat with David Tepper. Tell me about him. Mm-hmm. Okay, hey, tell me about him, Dan. Day to day, what is he like? Because you becoming the general manager, being this ultimate football guy, in that press conference where I think you were doing 75s and maybe 100s and 50s at the time, and you were jacked up. It's like, okay, feels like Tepper hired football people here and going to let football people do their thing. And I don't know if that's not how it was before, but I'm saying that was the narrative everybody talked about it. How has it been working with David Tepper, and what is he like just as a human?
Dave and Nicole are the best, and I would say just in regards to Dave, he is definitely misunderstood. Like, He is somebody that you can talk to, hang out with, laugh with, have a good time with. Hell yeah. He just wants to win, just like I want to win, just like Coach Canales wants to win. He's going to supply everything that we need to win. So, we're getting a new indoor facility outside. Stadium renovations are on the way. So things are changing around here. Things are looking really positive, and that's a testament to Dave and Nicole Tepper.
Yeah, once he donated the stadium, because everything we had heard before that is like, no way. Once he donated to Luke Combs and Eric Church,
flood relief,
and Caleb, I believe, for the flood relief, I was like, you know what? Hey, maybe Tepper, maybe in this big bad wolf. Yeah. And then we start hearing more stories. Go ahead.
It's like a villain in a movie that, like, you just like, you think they're a certain way, but then you're actually here and you're with them every day, and they're total opposite of what you thought.
Yeah, I completely understand that. Yeah, Gru, it is but because if somebody has a narrative about you, and then you do some things that feed that narrative, it only cements them. And I'm only talking about that as a human that has happened to, sure. Where it's like, I'm not like that, I'm not like it. Then you do something that they could easily say. That are like that.
Right.
We hope to meet him someday, and we're incredibly pumped for you as an ex-player getting a chance to lead a team, and it looks like you're doing a damn good job. Good luck the rest of the way on the Peloton, with the hair, and with the family and the Panthers.
Appreciate that. You guys come by here anytime you want.
Hey, Lake Norman down there is a beautiful place.
Yes, it
Hell
is.
yeah.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. still got that bar downtown. What's the name of it? Whiskey.
I don't think that's here anymore. What? If I'm not mistaken, I don't know. I don't really go out though.
Yeah, I assume you can't at this stage or have the time to. We played a bowl game down there.
Whiskey River.
Whiskey River, there it is. We played a bowl game down there. Boy, we had time. I mean, we had
Monty Car Care Bowl?
Yeah, we beat North Carolina. We beat North Carolina down there in Mikey Car Care Bowl.
We can do a couple stops.
Where at?
Chapel Hill, and we can go to.
Oh, Chapel Hill. A lot of convos there.
We got to get clearance.
All right, everybody stop. We appreciate the hell out of you. Good luck. General Manager of the Carolina Panthers.
Thanks, appreciate it, guys.
Handsome Dan Morgan.
Yeah.